GD. Today I want to talk to you all about the difference between the two different versions of to be in Irish. But I mostly want to focus on one of those versions called the copula. Man, I'm backward. Okay, first we have ta versus is. These are the two versions of the verb to be. Technically, is isn't a verb from what I've read. It's like considered a particle, but for now, I'm gonna consider it a verb. Walks like a duck, talks like a duck. Now, ta is technically the present tense of the root verb be, bi, fada, slash over the I, but this is the form that you'll see probably the most often. But first, before we start, let's remember what the difference is between the subject and the predicate of a sentence. The subject of a sentence is what the sentence is about. The predicate of a sentence is the rest of the sentence, basically, that describes the subject, like what something is, where it's at, what it's like, that kind of thing. So for ta, the normal word order will be verb, ta, subject, predicate. So let's look at that first. And here's two example sentences. Ta antul more, the apple is big. Ta antul are an blata, the apple is on the plate. Okay, first of all, ignore this T. That is just a prefix that you have to use with the definite noun in some cases. But the root word here is u, which is apple. So, what does ta do in this kind of sentence? Well, ta is used to add a description, seasoning, spice onto this main noun, ul in this case. So ul is like the subject, untul, the apple. The focus is always kind of like on this as the main part of the sentence. So, what's the difference? Well, first of all, this looks like is. But don't say it like that, because there's no such thing as a Z sound in Irish. It's is. What is is? Is is called the copula, and it is used to link the subject and the predicate as equals. Something equals something. Something is something. Is ul e. It is an apple. Is a doctor e. She is a doctor. With this example, is ul e. It a equals an apple. They are equals. So one thing I do in my head when I want to know if I should use ta or is to ask myself, if I say I have, can I fill in I have blank with both the subject and the predicate? If I can, it's likely that I'll need to use is. If I can't, probably want to go with ta. Let's test it. Is ul e. I have an apple. That makes sense. I have it. That also makes sense. I have a doctor. I have her. That could be. Let's look at ta. I have an apple. I have big. Well, that ain't right. I have an apple. I have on the plate. Why would I say that? One thing that I found is presented as like an exception, and I know there are more than one exception to this rule here that I've presented to you. I'm really familiar with only one of them, and I'll show it to you now. So, ta she in a doctor. Well, that means she is a doctor. Ta she in a one-shore. That means he is a teacher. Well, you might think, wow, that violates the rules because you're saying this equals this, but we're using ta. Only technically. That is the English interpretation of what is being said here. First of all, this form is only used if you're talking about something that has been recently attained or is very temporary or will easily be taken away or whatever. So Tashi in a doctor. That's literally saying she is in her doctor. She is in her doctorhood, her doctorness, whatever. Tashe in a wuncher. He is in his teacherness, his state of being a teacher. Like maybe she just graduated and became a doctor. It's like Tashi in a doctor now, anish. Anyway, but if we actually look at it that way, we can see this is not a violation of the rule because we are saying she is in her doctorness. So that is a description. Now let's get more into specifically the copula. I was really scared of this. For a long time I knew basically the difference between ta and is, and I knew that is the copula, and I knew like when to use which basically. But I've been putting off like really learning about the copula until now, and I was like really wanted to present everything simply and completely and accurately, so I was kind of forced to do a lot more research, and now I feel like really confident about a lot of it. So the copula. This is here to induce excitement. First, let's look at this picture of a train I have up here. The word copula comes from a Latin word. No, I don't remember what the Latin word is, but it means to couple or to link, which kind of makes sense because you're linking equals together in a copular sentence. There are two different kinds, basically. There are classification sentences and there are identification sentences. What's the difference? We have to remember our subject and our predicate. Unlike with ta, for the copula, the basic word order is verb, predicate, subject. Usually. So classification sentences are sentences where the predicate is not definite. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, let's see. I am a woman. Not the woman. That would be definite. I am a woman. Some random woman. Okay, the first type occurs when you're saying an indefinite subject equals an indefinite predicate. Here's some examples. Ich bin me. I am a woman. Ich ruine tu. You are a secretary. Ich envy an. A bird is a animal. I know, I did that on purpose. An animal. And now, we have a second type. This occurs when the subject is a definite noun, but of course the predicate is still indefinite, or it would not be part of the classification class. Is Rooney E. and Van. The woman is a secretary. Is Ban E. Amy. Amy is a woman. Is Dr. A. Mahara. My friend is a doctor. Let's look here. Subject, subject, subject. The woman is the subject, but it's definite in this case. Anvan, the woman. Well, what's this thing here? You might recognize that as the feminine pronoun for she, or her, or it, depending on the situation. Well, why do we have it here? It's called a proleptic pronoun. I think I have that right. And in all these cases, you will need to have this proleptic pronoun. It anticipates, basically, what the actual subject is going to be. Amy. Well, you might say that doesn't have the in front of it. It's not a definite noun. Well, proper names are always considered definite nouns in Irish. Is ban e Amy. Here we have our proleptic pronoun, and it comes before Amy. Amy is a girl, so it's feminine. Also here, woman is a feminine noun, so we have the pronoun be feminine. Is Dr. A. Mahara. My friend is also a definite noun. Well, again, it doesn't have the before it. Well, even though it doesn't have the before it, it has my before it, so we're still specifying who the specific person is. It's not any friend. It's my friend. So, and here we have the pronoun in front. Okay, the second kind of copular sentence is an identification sentence. Again, let's remember our subjects and our predicates. In the classification, the predicate never has a definite noun, but it can have a definite subject. In identification, the predicate will always have a definite noun, whether the subject is definite or indefinite. That doesn't matter. We're focusing on predicates here. Well, there's 3 different basic kinds here. Is een muncher een vaar? The man is the teacher. Is een muncher vaar? A man is the teacher. First, notice that it does not matter whether the subject is definite or indefinite. This first kind occurs when the predicate is definite and the subject is anything but a pronoun. The definite noun never likes to be next to the copula. They do not get along. So, een muncher, the definite noun here, he's going to say, hey man, keep your distance. And he's going to put a body double in the form of a proleptic pronoun here in front of himself to buffer the space, because he doesn't like the copula, remember. This is also considered a subpredicate, which basically means that this body double here of the main noun, the main definite noun in the predicate, is subbing in for it. One exception to this rule here, I'll show you down here, is when your subject in this case is a proper name, such as Jack. When you were saying a proper name equals a definite thing, the word order appears to be reversed, but it really isn't. Is a Jack een muncher? Jack is the teacher. Well, at first glance, it seems as though we've reversed the order of subject and predicate here. Well, really what we're doing here is we are electing to make Jack the predicate. The second main kind of identification sentence here is when the subject is a pronoun in the first or second person. So that would be me, you, y'all, we. So here's some examples. Is mij een roenie? Is to een van. The usual positions of the subject and predicate are reversed. So we have the subject here, mij. Is mij een roenie? I am the secretary. Is to een van. You are the woman. So it's flipped, reverse order in that. Okay. So with the last version of identification sentences, this occurs when, again, like with all 3 of these, the predicate is a definite noun, but the subject will be a pronoun in the third person. The third person is any pronoun that is he, she, or they. So, is een roenie a? He is the secretary. Is id numra id? They are the women. Is Amy e? She is Amy. Alright, you will often find that people will say that this kind represents having an echoing pronoun. And I can kind of get that because, look, is een roenie a? Is id numra id? Is Amy e? But I feel like that's not a right representation of what is really occurring, because it just makes it seem like you have this definite noun that's sandwiched in between some bookends that have no meaning. So remember, definite nouns do not like the copula, so they have to have that buffer noun in front of them. Hey man, I done told you once. So this pronoun kind of belongs to this. This is its buffer. This really has nothing to do with this pronoun. This pronoun is the subject, he. So, is buffer pronoun the secretary, he. He is the secretary. Let's look at this example too. It's the same thing. Is id, nimra id. This id belongs to nimra, but it's its buffer. This id is the subject. Is e, Amy e. This e belongs to Amy. This e is the subject. The only thing echoing really about these pronouns is the fact that even though the first pronoun does belong to the definite noun and the predicate, it must match in gender and quantity this pronoun. That's the only link they have that I know of. So I think we've covered all of that. I know there are some exceptions to what I've said, and I know that there are other ways to express equality, but I'm not versed in that enough yet to tell you about it confidently. The next subject I probably want to talk to y'all about is like possessive pronouns. But I want to take maybe a break from like the really nitty-gritty rules and stuff and do another fun one, kind of like I did before about like ordering at the restaurant, something less ruly and more lighthearted or something. And I'll see you then. Slime.